So, welcome to another Buzz Slayers interview. Today we are talking to Sierra Blacc, who
Hey guys.
hi. And so you just dropped. I mean, you've been releasing stuff for a really long time. You've got a kind of big musical background. The new album is Dark Side of the Moonchild. I listened to that and it was crazy. I mean, you always kind of, it's awesome. Here's the thing: you always have had a very your sound is very kind of big pop sounds. Sometimes you put in like here's the reasons I like this record so much, because it was edgy. Your stuff is always like edgy pop. It's not like alternative, fully alternative pop, but it's like edgy pop, cinematic pop,
Right.
And there's a lot of times there's vast undertones, you know what I mean? Like expansive undertones. I love that aspect of it. But this record, the reason I liked it so much is because there's so much honesty to it. I mean, if you listen to the record, well, not you, but if someone listens to the have you listened to the record?
Have you listened to your own record?
Right. But I mean, each of the songs are like, kind of like chapters in a way, like chapters of your life in a way. And at least that's how I took it. And
that's how it was. I'm glad that you took it that way, because that's literally how it was supposed to.
Well, you laid it out.
So you laid it out.
Good. You did it. No, you laid it out. And the thing is, it gets you kind of reeled into it once you realize that everything is coming from someplace real. You know what I mean? To an extent, you kind of get pulled into it more and more. And then you have these kind of power ballads on it. You know what I mean? And so it was a huge record. So what I wanted to know was about how this all really started for you, like in terms of maybe being a singer. Like what happened? Did your mom used to play records or something as a kid and you fell in love with one of them? Or like, how did this, like, what made you fall in love with music to the point where you were like, this is me, I have to do this?
I don't know. Literally, my first word, it says in my baby book that my first words were twinkle, twinkle, little star. So like I was coming like straight out of the womb. I don't know what it was. Like, my parents always played music around the house. So I guess maybe when my mom was pregnant with me, they must have listened to a lot of music, while I was in the belly. And my dad loved music. He loved to sing. And my dad was really my dad still is. He's really creative. So I think that's where it came from, really.
I love that. It's almost like you come from kind of a musical family in a way.
Yeah.
Does anyone else in your family do this, like sing or play guitar? Or
I mean, my dad can sing. He actually did a song. He did a cover of a song for his class a few years ago. I can't remember what it was, but it was so freaking good. It was so good. Other than that, nobody really does music in my family. So I think I just get it from my dad. My dad's always loved music. So we were always listening to like the Eagles and who else? Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah.
My mom loved Cher, ABBA. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Michael Jackson too was another big one that they used to play. Whitney Houston.
So your parents had a kind of, well, your dad maybe had a big hand. Your mom had a big hand in it. And then what about like? Okay, how about this? You're gonna hate me for this one. Okay, trust me. All right, I'll give you 5. Okay, top 5 musical influences. Okay, influences, and it doesn't have to be like just singers. It could be like, I love this person as an artist. I love this person as a songwriter. Because I want to see what you're listening to. Right now, like what are your like maybe top 5 influences from when you started to now? It's a toughie.
From when I started to now, geez. Okay, well, Whitney Houston is definitely, like, I remember singing Whitney Houston at the age of 4. I Will Always Love You. I love that song. I love the Bodyguard album. Like, that album, front to back, was just fire.
Yeah.
So Whitney Houston. I would say Madonna is another one.
Nice.
I used to love Madonna. I used to steal my sister's CDs and like sing to Madonna in the mirror, like perform to myself. You know what I mean?
I still love Madonna.
Yeah, she's great. Um, The Weeknd is another really big influence, a
Nice.
more like recent influence,
Mhm.
obviously. I think he's extremely talented, not only as a vocalist and a singer, but also a songwriter and an artist.
Oh yeah.
Um, Drake is another influence as well.
Who? Oh, Drake.
Drake is another influence as
Mhm.
well. Yeah, for sure. Um, I love his business sense. That's what I respect about Drake. I really
Mm.
love his business sense, the way that he moves, the way that he handles himself. Um, and the last one would be Ray. I really love Ray. She's from the UK.
Mhm.
She just kind of started popping like in this previous year, but I discovered her a couple of years ago. Um, and yeah, I think she's like an amazing vocalist. She's an amazing artist, songwriter. She's like written for so many freaking different artists. It's insane.
Ah,
And so now she's like touring, and she's like she has this whole band, and like it's
yeah.
amazing. She's winning a bunch of awards and she's killing it. So this
Wow.
will be my top
Well, that's definitely a great range of influence, you know what I mean? And I think that and that explains a lot too, because I mean you're very, you're kind of up there with like the pop, you're very like in your face pop, can't look
five.
away type of stuff. You put yourself into your songs,
Hmm.
they mean stuff, and you make them edgy when you want to, racy if you want to, you make them, you know, uh ballad-esque and super personal if you want to, like you I think that's what it takes to be a pop artist and put yourself, to be a pop artist and put yourself on a certain level. I think you
Hmm.
have to be able to pull all of those different avenues off,
Yeah.
like the thank you. I did want to touch on the thank you video because that was insane. And I also actually watched the it was like a little interview that you did while you were making the thank you video too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
on
the behind
YouTube.
the scenes.
I liked that because that was kind of cool. It was hard, it was a little harder to hear you on that video, but I liked that you were showing behind the scenes on during the making of the video, and then you go and watch the video, and the video was like intense and like very visually like, but a lot of your videos do have that kind of aspect to them. And so how does
Yeah.
that come into play in terms of like not even just the thank you video, but when do you have a team of people that you work with normally for that kind of stuff?
I do have a team of people that I work with normally. Like I have two different teams actually. So for the first like probably I don't know, I put out a lot of music videos. So for the first like dozen or slightly over a dozen music videos, I was working with one team. It was Brown Guy, TK, Givenchy, and yeah. So I had like a creative director. I had everything. I had my team, right?
Right.
And then for thank you, I actually went with a different team. And the only reason I went with a different team for thank you is because I wanted thank you to be bigger. So I needed a bigger team and I needed more resources.
Mm.
And so I went with Abstract Digital House. Ioana was the creative director, and Andrew was the videographer. And yeah, that one was like real. And we had so many issues with that music video. That music video was actually delayed for several months because we
Wow.
kept having like just logistic difficulties. Like my wigs, for instance, were lost in the mail for 2 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So just
Wow.
like stupid shit like that kept happening. And then we had an issue with locations and permits. And it was an absolute headache. But obviously everything turned out fine. It turned out as it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And everybody really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun making it. It was a lot of hard work. We started at like 6 o'clock in the morning and we didn't wrap until midnight. So it was like over a 12-hour shoot. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Yeah, it was a long day. But it was
Wow.
awesome. Oh, there was another issue with the hard drive. So we almost lost the entire music video at one point. There
Oh,
was a hard drive issue.
don't tell
I'm
me that.
telling you, anything that could have went wrong with this project. But so we were even on more of a time crunch, and I was even more stressed out because of the hard drive issue. So I physically met up with Andrew at the studio so that we could go through all of the footage together,
Right.
because like I was very particular with what I wanted, what I didn't want, the angles, the you know what I mean, the
Yeah.
transitions, the all of that. So I might have been a little bit of a pain in the ass. And I always say that. I'm like, I'm sorry for being a pain in the ass. But they're like, no, you're fine. Like, you're not even that bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I've edited plenty, and it's not really a pain in the ass thing. It's just that people have a vision of what they would really like it to be like. And if you're going in, if you're yourself, I mean, there are other people, you had a team there, whatever, but if you yourself are going in and putting that much time and effort and energy and love and everything else into what you're doing, then you have a right to come in and be like, look, I want to be a little bit detailed. And if communication is a little bit of an issue, then you show face and go, look, here we go.
Right.
Here I am.
Exactly.
Now we're going to sit down and we're going to do it because you didn't want to talk to me on the phone. So, so, I mean, I don't see any problem with that. And I think that's what it takes to be, I like to call that kind of like a little bit of artistic or creative or even professional perfectionism, because you want something to turn out a certain way. Because when you go in, when you go in to do something, even when you do a song, right, you may have a certain kind of vision in your head of how you want it to be. And if you're working with other people or collaborating on the song, then you have to be able to express what that vision is as best you can, so that they can, together you can come. And so that kind of actually brings me to another question I was going to ask in terms of like the productions and the beats, and like, where does that come from? Do you work with other people? Do you produce some of the stuff yourself? Like, how does that work?
I do work with other people. I have a team, like a production team. Pharaoh is like my main guy. I love Pharaoh. Like, he's like a brother to me. We work very well together. And we have that great like working chemistry. And then I have a few other people around me. But for the most part, I mean, like, I won't say that I'll sit there and produce myself. Like, I don't sit there and hit the keys. I don't play instruments anymore. I'm trying to get back into that. But I do have like the sounds in my mind. I do know the sounds that I want to hear. And I always show up to the studio with a reference. You know what I mean? Like, either something that I've written, lyrics, like a beat that's in my head that I've like recorded on my fucking voice demo. You know what I mean?
Like, about that. I was going to ask you if you have a way to scratch track stuff, actually.
So I just like record little voice memos on my phone, and then I'll save them for later, and then I'll show up to the studio and be like, "Hey, let's do this." You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty much how it works. But yeah, or sometimes, if I show up to the studio, there's been an odd time where I do show up to the studio and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck we're doing. Let's just
see what happens.
Something. Yeah. And that's actually how Thank You was born. Thank You was just like, we don't know what we're doing. We're going to use this song as a reference and just like build off it and and it was awesome. So
wow. What about Dark Side of the Moonchild? That's a kind of a big record. And it seems like listening to the record, it's like, you feel like it took a while to put together.
It did.
Yeah.
Originally Please Don't. Okay, so Please Don't and Monica and Runnin' were written they were written like 2 years ago. Yeah, so there were like three songs that I had already like written and done the demo for. So I had like a demo recording of them. And then, some of them I re-recorded. I had to re-record
like Pray. What about Mirrors?
Oh, Pray I had to re-record. Pray was another one I had to re-record. Mirrors is the newest one, to be honest with you, that was on the Mirrors was written probably about, I would say almost a year ago. I started writing it almost a year ago. And I had like the biggest writer's block for like months. It was freaking awful. It was between, it was me starting the album and starting the process of like putting songs together. So I knew I had the 3 songs that I wanted, the 3 or 4 songs that I wanted from previous like writings and demos and all of that. And then I had Mirrors, my boy from Sweden. He's a producer from Sweden. He signed to Sony Music. He sent me a beat. And usually I hate when people send me beats and it doesn't feel like organic. It doesn't feel like it just feels very forced. You know what I mean? But she sent me this beat, and I was like, this is freaking awesome. This is fun. So like I had the melody in my head for the hook, and the hook came really easy to me. But it was the verses, and I think I struggled with the verses because I really had to like dig deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a personal song, that one. Mirrors is very personal. Yeah.
Very personal. And I hadn't dug that deep in myself, like to incorporate into my music like before. Wow. So I kind of roadblock. I had a freaking roadblock. I read Rick Rubin's creative
oh my God, yes.
So that's what got me through my my writer's block. That and you know, the support system around me. I had some really good friends like come through and just support me. And so yeah, and then I was able to finish Mirrors. I finished it by like February or March of this year, and then that's when we kind of started like going to the studio and like recording everything, getting all of the production, you know, all of the stems, beefing it up, adding more, taking, like, you know what I mean?
So how long does a process like that take for a whole record? Like this is, what was it? It was six tracks, an EP basically. Well, actually, yeah. I mean, you can call it either one, but yeah, it's technically an EP. I mean, you know what they say, 15 minutes is it, you know.
Well, apparently I've heard that if you release an album as an independent artist, that it like kind of deters the record labels from wanting to sign you. I don't know if that's true.
That's a myth. That's a complete myth. All you have, look.
But maybe that's why people get nervous about calling it an album.
This is a real pop record. Like this took a lot of time to put together. You have a team of people, you have a full studio, you went in and tracked your stuff, you worked with your producers, you have people, you know, I love being able to live in a world where you go, oh, this producer that signed to Sony from Sweden sent me this beat and I loved it and that became this. Like that's the kind of stuff that juices things up. It's like, wow, you know. And I wanted to also ask you, what about like live shows? Performances.
So I've done a few live shows. I want to get more into live shows. For the last year, I've actually been like working with a vocal trainer, a performance coach. So I'm starting to like get my shit together for live performances. I'm going to be probably looking for a band and, you know, getting into that. So, because I don't want to sit there and like sing over a track. You know what I mean? Like that's so freaking lame. I want like a real band. So.
I don't want to karaoke my own songs. I want to
that's not music.
I definitely feel that. That's cool. I was just curious because, you know, when it comes to an artist like yourself, you're a solo artist technically, you know, and even though you have a team of people, that team of people is focused on the visual and the audio creatives and not really like coming with you on a tour, you know? So it's like, all right, well, so I think I feel like that would be a great thing for you. I think that you could sell tickets if you did you started performing some live shows. After talking about Thank You, I also wanted to ask, just out of curiosity, you going to do a video for anything else? Any of these tracks?
For the tracks on the EP, you mean?
Yeah.
There are 3 songs that I really want to do. Actually, it's so hard because like if I had it my way, I would do a visual for every single track.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
For sure, I have to do a visual for Mirrors. Like that's a given. That's like the main single.
That would be my number one. As my feedback, I would be like, please do that. Running would be really cool too.
Running would be cool. Pray would be really cool too. I have a lot of really great ideas for Pray, but that's going to be like a bigger production because I don't want to give away the vision, but
no, I get it.
Be a bigger production. Wilbur, come here. And then Please Don't is also another one that I really wanted to do a visual.
That's another personal song. Very personal.
Yeah, and like the vocals on the hook and like the harmony, it's very like floaty and very just like powerful. So the visuals that I get when I hear that is pretty cool. So I'm gonna have to narrow it down because I don't think I'm gonna be able to do all of them, but definitely for sure Mirrors.
Well, I get what you mean. I mean, if time and money were no object, then of course, you do it all, right? But unfortunately, it's not. But you know, one of the reasons, going back to a little bit earlier, one of the reasons why I ask about influences and things like that is because you know I like to see if I can pick up on any when I listen to the stuff. And you know, now that I know, and Madonna was, I would say, would be the one that I picked up on.
Yeah, I get Lady Gaga. People tell me that I remind them of Lady Gaga a lot.
You know,
I love listening to Lady. I was a Gaga fan. You know what I mean? But yeah.
So what do you think is coming like next for you in terms of, you know, a next release? Because when was this one? This was not long
in October.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's a big record, you know what I mean? But is there anything in the works now, or?
I mean, I'm always writing. I'm always like inspired. I'm always jotting things down or recording things. I have not been back in the studio as of you know, since releasing the album, but I think my focus right now is to just put a lot of my energy and time towards like promoting the album. So like, you know, doing the social media content, reaching out to people such as yourself to like do interviews and all of the stuff behind the scenes that people don't see. You know what I mean? So sending those emails, making those calls, whatever. But yeah, that's going to be the focus for now, and then we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I really do want to take what I have and, you know, do the live shows, right? So I want to like also invest my energy into starting that.
That's
and
a big
I feel like,
endeavor.
yeah, and I have so much music that I've released. I think it's time to start like connecting more with my audience through live shows and stuff like that. So that's what I really want to work on next.
This one I want to ask you because, and here's why I don't have as many connections anymore with this area, is because, as I used to anyway, the whole thing with music supervision is starting to get taken over by AI. And so what do you think? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever been to one of those sites where you like, you can go in there and be like, all right, well, I want a song that sounds like a Prayer by Madonna, and I want these lyrics instead. I want it to be about how I, you know, climbed a tree when I was 7 and fell out and broke my leg, but it's got to be the vibe of that. And you type all the shit in, and then in 5 minutes, out comes a fucking full song.
I don't think it's a threat because there's no real soul, there's no real emotion. It's very, and you can feel it. Like, you know, when you're making music, you're putting that energy into the music.
Yeah.
And that's why people connect with it, because they can feel that energy and that emotion that you put into it.
Exactly.
So you're not going to get that with an AI generated song. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. It's just gonna sound like, you know, soulless nothingness, and
very forced, very fake.
Very forced is a good word. Yeah, very forced. You know, Anyway, just curious about that. But so so this record's out. So we're pushing this record right now. Maybe you look into some live shows and working on that kind of stuff in the near future. I'm definitely looking forward to whatever else you're dropping soon. You know, whatever they may be. Dark Side of the Moonchild is out everywhere. And you know, thank you so much for doing this. Like, I really
thank you so much for having me. I had such a great talk with you. It was nice. Thank you.
Me too.
See you when she smiles.